Hi, I'm Coach Day,
And I'm Coach Matthew.
and today we're going to talk about internal resistance and how to deal with it, because it definitely comes up when you're moving from codependence to true independence. So specifically, Matthew, is you've been coaching for a while, and the only reason why you're coaching is because you live it and you're being it. But tell me, has internal resistance come up for you during your time of coaching?
Absolutely. Internal resistance has been a part of my story in the Your Day Balance game pretty much since day one. You know, I look at internal resistance as that internal subconscious pushing back against changing. And when I came into this space 13 years ago, almost 13 years ago, it was because I wanted to experience change in my life. And so there has been a wrestling with internal resistance since day one. But I've also held the belief and held the understanding that that's part of the process. And as I've worked through the different resistances I've had at different stages and on different topics, I've always experienced beautiful breakthroughs. And I've always experienced more clarity, more confidence. And so my relationship towards the resistance is, if it's there, I know that eventually I'm going to lean into it, and I give myself a little bit of patience and grace as I wrestle it out. But I don't fear the internal resistance because I believe it's part of the process.
Beautiful. Let's go back to when you started, what is
Yeah.
it, 12, 13 years ago now?
It was in 2012, so it'll be 13 years this spring.
Yeah. So you came in and we started sitting around having this amazing conversation about transformation, how to get past ourselves. And there's a lot of moments I remember where you heard a certain thing about a spot, an area that you might not see, a blind spot, that if you address this, you can move forward. And something came up. Give us an example of one of those first defining moments where you're like, yeah, I listen to you, like, yeah, I'm done with this, like, I'm out, like, forget it, like, everything is just fight, protect. Give us an example of that.
So when I came in and started playing Your Day Balance game, you know, I was intrigued at what this program and this perspective could do for me. And the area of personal relationships, my intimate relationships, was big because I was dating a woman who's now my wife. We've been married for 10 years now. And I had created a lot of codependencies in my relationships before her and even with her. And so I felt that there were opportunities for growth and a deepening of connection and deepening of intimacy in my relationships. I was clear the possibility was there, but I was terrified about what it would mean to actually lean into that. Because it would mean addressing deeply held beliefs I had about myself. It would mean being very transparent and being very honest, and that was so scary. So I do remember early on, you know, Sarah and I were sitting in our small groups called COI, Circle of Influence, and the conversation around our relationship and the depth and the actual depth of the relationship, not what everybody else was seeing, not the cute couple who seems happy, but what is that depth of connection?
Let me pause right there and say this. Thank you. Tell us, what was the result of this very codependent nature that you both were in within yourselves? What was the result? How was it strangling the relationship? Give us a specific thing, like in that intimacy.
Yeah, it was strangulating the level of real and honest communication, really sharing how we felt, really being vulnerable. You know, there was only so much that we were willing to share, at least for me on my part. And then that, of course, shows up in the physical intimacy. Only really being willing to open up to a certain level. So I'm only experiencing her at a certain level, she's only experiencing me at a certain level. And there's a lot of internal conversation, a lot of judgment, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt that we would bring into our physical intimacy. And so the relationship, I mean, you said it well, like it was being strangled by those fears, by those codependencies, and by the unwillingness to really confront those things and look at them right in the face.
So you're learning about this new way of healing codependency, not even knowing what it was, because what we're really about is teaching how to become truly independent. It just so happens that is the antidote to codependency. But that's what this whole game has been about, is what does it mean to be truly independent? Now we define it as when the majority of your self-worth comes from trusting you, loving you, and being in the center of you. When you put that trifecta together, you'll understand it. But you got to experience it. Otherwise, it's just intellectual. So this is who you're being now. But let's keep going back there. You were clueless about what it is to really trust who Matthew is. What it is to truly love Matthew, because you're too busy focused on loving Sarah and all the other people you loved in the past. And how to be in the center of yourself. You weren't there because you're like, okay, maybe I need to show up this way. Maybe I need to show up this way. All those things have you dependent. That's what codependency on, needing to serve others for your worth and needing to please and things like that. And it only takes you so far. So now we're in that COI conversation. We get to that point where there's something to look at with Matthew. And I want to bring up one specific thing, and I would love to hear what you bring up as well. But I remember Sarah saying quite often, yeah, I do well when a man leads me. And how did that impact you? How confronting was that? Because you're sitting there, her boyfriend, and she's just sitting there like, I'm doing well when a man leads. Like, in other words, I don't want to lead the man. I can, but that doesn't synergize with me, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying a woman can't lead, because a lot of them do, but she knew she flows when she has that level of trust that you can lead it. Tell us about what came up for you then.
Yeah, it was confronting. It's like a hit to the masculinity to have in my case, my girlfriend, my partner, say that she wanted to be led, because how I interpreted that is I'm not leading in a powerful way. And so then I wanted to be defensive around that. I wanted to share all the examples as to, yes, I am leading here, here, and here. So it was very confronting, for sure.
Did you feel some internal resistance coming up?
I mean, that's a light way of putting it.
Yeah.
Mostly resistance to being willing to fully hear and understand what she was saying. Right? Because it was confronting. So my ego initially is like, no, what are you talking about? If you don't feel led, it's because you're not following my lead.
That makes sense. Just
like,
follow
I'm
my
leading,
lead, right?
So if you're not being led, it's because you're not following my lead. So the resistance initially was to the idea of what she was saying.
How did you understand to lean in as opposed to saying, forget it, let's just shut this down? Like, it's just, no. It said, you got the issue. How did you understand and how did you know to say, no, let me lean in? And why did you not just, you two just pack up and say, we're not going to do this anymore? A lot of people do that in different modalities like therapy and counseling. They just pack that shit and never go back. Why did you stay with it when it was that confronting and that painful? Because I watched you work through it.
A very clear answer. Before I ever learned about Your Day Balance Game, I was in the world of working on myself, because I was clear that the experience I was having and the results I was creating was not what I wanted. So reading a lot of books, listening to a lot of podcasts, trying to study from people who had wisdom to share. And somewhere in those years, I picked up a belief that I started to run that said, if something feels confronting and uncomfortable, and it's not just, a fear of a spider, like, lean into it. And so before I ever came to Atlanta, before I met you, I said, I'm going to lean into whatever is striking a chord of fear deep within me.
Why? Because when you didn't, what happened?
Because I had so many years in my life and so many experiences where I was so clear I had a choice of choosing fear and choosing love. And I had experienced it in countless number of times. And so I know what it tasted like. I know what it felt like to be staring that choice and not have the courage to choose love and to choose fear. And then I know what it felt like for my mind to rationalize that decision and to try to convince me that that was actually the best path. Meanwhile, my spirit was like, you played small.
Wow.
And I had done that over and over and over in all of these different areas. And so I just got to a point where I felt complete with that. And so then I needed something to connect with. And I said, well, if I'm complete with that, then if something stirs within me that it's a fear that might keep me up at night, I'm going to just lean in. Like, I'm done choosing the other paths. I've done it so many times. I'm going to lean in. And then I paired that with another thing I got from, again, I can't remember where it came from, but it was just the idea of say yes. Just say yes. So that's how I was at the COI in the first place. Because when I met you and your coaches at the time, I was invited to these different things. Come to this run. Come to this conversation. Come take a game day. And I just said yes. So when I paired lean in when it's uncomfortable and say yes, then I at least had some internal tools, some internal beliefs that I was committed to when I'm sitting in the COI and the conversation about me and my leadership comes up and I feel all of that. I felt all that heat. I was in a space where those two things, lean in and say yes, were the drivers. And so I was willing to face it.
Wow. And that's what you said here, because you're willing to what?
Face it.
So when that internal resistance comes up, we have a choice. Is that what I'm hearing?
You always have a choice.
Yeah. And you said, I can lean in or run. And there's going to be a consequence either way. You get to choose. But what I'm hearing you say is that you got tired of the consequences of running.
Yeah, because I had done it so many times. Like I said, like I knew I could predict the way that I would feel, the thoughts I would have about myself, the impact on my self-esteem if I chose the fear path. Because I'd done it so many times.
And, ready? The impact you'd have on your life. Because when Matthew's playing small, how can that lead anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you saw it's like, yeah, I say I'm leading, but no, am I being that? But if I don't face it, how can I lead? How can I be the example of that courage and that love? And so you started figuring that out. And it was neat watching because I've been doing this for almost 30 years. And I've seen people make the other choice real quick.
Yeah,
Because
you get it.
we do get confronted, don't we?
Yeah.
Over and over again. And that's the difference. All the coaches that are here, it's because you guys face it thousands of times. And you still face it. So Matthew had a choice. I'm like, okay, which way are they going to go? Because Sarah had a choice too. And you both are very independent. And Sarah's like, I'm leaning in. You know she was leaning in. Matthew's like, oh, I'm leaning in. Just for yourself. And it's been beautiful. So let's take that and let's tie it to the Your Day Balance Game. And Your Day Balance Game is a health and fitness game inspired by love, accountability, and balance. And it is a health and fitness game because that's what we use to activate these more powerful principles and beliefs. And so let's tie it into how we use the game to activate that lean in when you get uncomfortable. Then I'd like you to tie that into what transpired in your life and then how to use it with your clients.
Beautiful.
First things first is we have certain moves we put you in, like a squat hold or a plank. And we say, okay, it's gonna get uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You go deal with some internal resistance, and this is not really about a plank or a squat hold. See, you think it's about that, but we don't use health and fitness to just get fit and run. No, that's the byproduct. We use it as feedback. It's a performance ladder. We use it as feedback. That means we're measuring something, and we're measuring how well that Matthew loves himself, how well he trusts himself, and in the center of himself. So even if something as simple as a plank or a squat hold, we're intentionally creating internal resistance because you're gonna heat up.
That's it.
And either you're gonna learn how to face it when it comes and love yourself through it and be powerful, or fight it, judge it, kick it, run. And so you've been doing it for a long time, you learn how to face it. Tell me how facing it, because you've always been into fitness, but when you stepped in the game, it was no longer about just being fit and not inactive. That was the byproduct. It was about using it for feedback to see those areas in you that there might be some resistance, stopping you from your full power.
Mm-hmm.
So as that started breaking through, you started realizing the correlation, like I'm not here just to be healthy fit no more. That's gonna happen. I'm here to get past myself, to be in that pure flow, that power and true lead. Tell me how that transpired in your relationship with Sarah.
So what I love about what we do in Your Day Balance Game, as you mentioned just a moment ago, is we take health and fitness and we use it as a way for you to come to know yourself. So I would take this practice into my squat holds, for example. And while I'm sitting in that squat hold and my body is heating up, I'd be paying attention to those thoughts that are coming up. And like that's the resistance. You know, the thoughts that are coming up that are creating that burn in my body that I'm fighting against surrendering. So I was incorporating a very intentional, a very conscious fitness practice that was helping me to see and understand and be able to relate to those things more powerfully. How can I relax? How can I become more peaceful and more surrendered? So those practices that were happening in the fitness lab, you know, in the gym, were then supporting me in being able to sit and face that heat when the idea of having a revealing conversation with Sarah came up, right? And I remember being in that space and feeling all that heat, all that resistance, when Sarah and I were sitting across the table from one another and we were sharing very openly about previous experiences
let me interject real quick. So what you're saying is that your body doesn't know the difference between a squat hold and a very intense conversation?
No, that's one of the beliefs that we have, is that when your body is in a state of stress, it's going to react the way that you've programmed it to. Whether that stress is being induced by a trainer who's putting you under some intense physical exercise and your body's heating up, or that stress is being kicked off by a conversation that is making you feel uncomfortable. Your body is still going to react to that stress in the way that you've programmed it, and you've programmed it by reacting to that stress over and over the years.
Well said. So, continue. Did you want to say any more about, that connection that you're noticing when you sat in it?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, sitting in that table across from Sarah, having a very revealing, transparent conversation, put my body in that state of fight or flight stress. And usually that's the flight. Like, shut it down, only share a little bit. But because I've been practicing, just sit with it. It's okay. It's all right if it's burning. It's all right if your arms are sweating. It's okay if your mind is wanting to find all of the exit points. It's okay. Just be with it.
Hold on. But it's harming you. What about that side of your ego saying, this is hurting me? Why would I do this? How do you overcome that? How do you even know?
Well, I formed that relationship with that level of discomfort through years of personal training and fitness. Because when you're in the gym and you're doing curls, your bicep is uncomfortable. It's hurting. But you understand that it's what's required for that muscle to become stronger. So that type of quote unquote hurting is something that I've been able to create a powerful and empowering relationship with. So when I was feeling it, whether it's at the table with Sarah or in the gym, I can roll with that. And I think that most people have an example in their life, something where they're feeling the burn, but they've been able to form at least somewhat of an empowering relationship with it. Maybe it's at work, maybe it's with their families, that they can persevere even when it's burning. So for me, that has come a lot of the time with health and with fitness and with my body. So being able to translate that into the discomfort of an uncomfortable conversation.
And I want to continue that in just a second. But another thing I want to add to that is, yes, what allows you to discern the difference between something that's actually improving you and then something that's actually destroying you is that it's the feedback. Is you give it a little space afterwards, a couple of days, and see if you got stronger from it.
Yeah.
See if you become more resolute in who you are, feel a little more peaceful. So use the feedback to say, is this working? And give yourself space to have the feedback. Or you bring in a professional and they can tell you that this is going to lead to this, and you trust what they're saying and be guided because they understand they've been through it. You see they have it. So it's the feedback that allows you to know whether it's going to serve you or not. And that's why it's so essential to get what is called healthy feedback. That means feedback that is objective.
Yeah.
It's coming from a space of love. That's saying, listen, I'm giving it from the space of who you want to become. You said, I'm up to this, and this is what I'm holding you accountable to, and I'm helping you get to this. That's healthy feedback. So, continue with Sarah. You're saying you got into that, you connected to the same thing of being in a very difficult conversation with her, and how did it turn out? My question was, when you put those two together and you face it differently, more powerfully, how did it turn out with your relationship?
Well, in that specific scenario, what came out was actual sharing. Sharing with Sarah things that I was just so clear I was going to lock in, because the idea of talking about it was very uncomfortable. So in that case, there was a tremendous healing. There's a tremendous experience of feeling more deeply connected with one another, deeper level of intimacy and deeper trust. So that type of experience then snowballed into the other areas of our relationship. And, Sarah and I haven't had just one or two of those moments of deeply vulnerable sharing. It's been peppered throughout our entire relationship. So as we continue to peel back those layers of ourselves and hold space for one another, the relationship has gotten sweeter and sweeter. And then, that shows up in all the different ways, the way that we raise our kids, the ways that we have fun with each other when we're hanging out, when we're dating, all those different beautiful components of it.
Well said. I want to go back to say one thing. You said it turned into what is called sharing. And the way we train that in your body, like when you're holding a plank or a squat hold, you call allowing and letting go. That's what it takes to surrender. And you can tell somebody it over and over again, but as long as they intellectualize it, they don't get it experientially. They don't activate it. So you literally got to put them in the heat and to teach the body how to do it, because it's actually a beingness. And so you just keep putting that condition and saying, tell your body to let go and surrender. Well, how do I do that? Put your knee, you'll figure out, let go and surrender, speak to it. Mm-hmm. And eventually you connect it like, it's kind of like this. How do I do it? Tell your hand to open up. Well, how do I do it? Eventually, you're like, oh, it's open. Because we train it since young, but it took you a while to activate your body. People don't know as a kid, you didn't know how to move your body, but eventually like open up, close, surrender, and you can let go. So what it looks like from the physicality to the metaphysicality is surrender. Well, how do I do that? Well, let go of those beliefs and all those stuff and just share it. Let it go. Let it open, share it. Mm-hmm. Like surrender, stop holding on because it's going to get recontextualized, and once you get it out, it might not even be what it is. Surrender, let it go. So that was a beautiful connection when you said it transpired to sharing, letting go. And that's what it is, it's let it go. Another thing too is, when I'm in a squat holds personally, the reason why I'm able to hold it is because I know how to activate the conviction that I don't have to hold it by myself. Literally, I know the universe, God, the universe, the whole thing is conspiring to hold me up. And I really believe it. And guess what happens to the squat holds? It holds me up. It doesn't matter, it holds me up. I'm like, everything is holding me up. I'm not doing it by myself. And how does that transpire into the physicality? You transform so many lives because the space has been held for you for well over a decade. And because you are who you are and you're a powerful coach, when I'm on a call with a new person and they're like, I'm gonna get you, I'm like, no, you're not, you're gonna get Matthew. Your whole life's gonna be shifted because I don't have to do it by myself. Look at that correlation. And that's how it happens every step of the way in the game. The way it shows up in your body is the way it eventually shows up in your life. And the way it's showing up in your life, it shows up in your body. So that's beautiful. So we talked about the connection between you and Sarah and how that transforms your relationship to more intimacy, a deeper connection. And according to your words, it just gets sweeter and sweeter.
That's been the impact, yeah.
Yeah, Sarah was on the call on this conversation previously, saying the same thing. It's beautiful how you guys are just in your power. So how does that transfer into all these beautiful clients you coach? Because I bet you see them come up against that resistance. So tell me some of the things you see as far as when that resistance comes up and how you're able to help them move through it. Or when they go back and watch this video, because you're like, go back and watch this video this time. You don't have to say nothing because you don't tell them what it happened before it happened, right? How do you want this video set up so that when your client comes against that resistance, you're like, we're gonna pause the conversation, go back and watch 3 minutes and 54 seconds on this video. What do you want to tell them?
So before coming into Your Day Balance game, I've always been a coach, right? And I grew up playing sports, and soccer was my favorite sport for many years. So as I got older and I was no longer playing, I went back and I coached. And one of the things that I loved about being a coach, I'm just talking about soccer in that moment, was I could see myself in those young athletes, and I could see the blind spots. Perhaps maybe it's the training that they're not doing or the way they're approaching a certain technique, and they don't see it, but I can see it because I've been there. So that is also my experience coaching in Your Day Balance game. And it's such a incredible thing because I get to see myself in everybody that I have the pleasure and honor of working with. And so what comes up is being able to support people in seeing the blind spot, because they're blind spots, we can't see them, right? That's why I receive feedback from you, because there's things that you see about me that I can't see. And supporting folks and being able to see what perhaps might be in their blind spot in their periphery, and to see what we call those minefields that they're about to step in that they may not even realize. You're 1 foot away from stepping in something, but you don't know it yet. And because I've been there and I stepped in it, and I've gone through the experience of stepping in it and now cleaning it up afterwards, I can support a person in seeing that they have choice. You may choose to step on that mine. That's okay. It's not good or bad. Let's just understand how to approach it in a principled way so that you can make the choice that aligns with the experience that you want to have, even if it's the choice to step on it. Because sometimes we do. It's like, I just want to experience it.
Boom.
Yeah, and then, oh, okay, maybe I won't do it again. But sometimes we do. So I love being a coach for that reason. There, as you mentioned, there's a space that was held for me, that continues to be held for me, that I have experienced amazing breakthroughs, these incredible breakthroughs in, and so being able to hold that space for others is a beautiful thing.
Wow, thank you. So specifically, one of your clients are going through that internal resistance and they're stepping into the minefields, on the minefields. And we love to say minefields like M-I-N-E, Minefields, but it's really M-I-N-D. There are things that your mind's put up that just blow you up, blow up the possibility. And we refer to them as denials, distractions, and doubts, and we spot them quick, don't we? When a client is going into denial, a distraction, doubt, it's like, it's instinct for us at this point because we program it to see it and say, anytime you step on one of those D's, it's going to create destruction. Because what it destroys is the possibility that we're attempting to live into, this new possibility that hasn't come into reality yet. And so,
which looks like, by the way, when anybody comes into our program, they share with us what are the results they're playing for. Like, we know that you're coming to heal codependency and move into true independence. But there's also some things that you're playing for in life. It might be around relationship, health, finances. So when people state that, here's what I'm playing for, now that's what's possible. And so then we get to support, how do you move in that direction of possibility? And knowing the minefield that you're about to step in is one of the things that's either going to support you moving in that direction or perhaps not.
So you're on the call with one of your coaches, I mean one of your clients, which you're on every day, and they're about to step into a minefield, but you don't want to sit there and convince them of anything. You want to have this video, this recording for them. So what are you going to tell them when they watch this video? What do you want to communicate to them so that they realize what's about to happen and what's the most effective way to deal with it? What do you want to share with them?
Well, we always talk about principles. And I find that when we not only understand how the principles are operating, but can be aware of the choices that we make that either align with them or don't, then it really can help when we are faced with one of those minds. When we're faced with one of those moments where if we choose path A, it's going to move us closer towards our desired result, closer towards whatever it is you're playing for. And if you choose path B, it simply won't. So having that principled approach is so important because it helps you get out of your emotions. Because the emotion of the moment, you know, if you are making choices based off the emotion, your emotions go up and down all throughout the day. So the choice you might make in the morning might be very different than the choice you make in the afternoon. And it's all based on how you feel in a moment. And I can tell somebody a single word or a single sentence and shift how they feel. So if they're making choices like that, you're gonna have things that are all over the place versus I'm clear these are results I'm playing for. Let me make the choices that come from principle, which are unwavering, that can help me progress in that moment. So, you know, the thing that I say to anyone listening and clients is to create a little bit of pause so you can reflect on the consequence of a choice that you're about to make and really connect with the principle behind it. And we go into such depth of that in the program where the clients have the ability and have the tools and the practice to create a little space of pause. You just need a little bit of a space to then be able to run through in your mind real quick, oh, this might happen if I make this choice versus that choice, and what's going to ultimately support what I'm playing for.
That's well said. Allow me to add a little detail to it. Once you create this possibility for your clients, that means this idea of this world or this experience you can have, it takes energy to move it down a continuum to create the new reality. It takes energy. And once you lose that energy, that possibility drops back to what's called your current reality. It's just the way it is. So one thing, and that's one of the principles we deal with, is everything's energy. And it doesn't matter if you believe it or not. It just is. If you believe it and understand it, you can utilize it. If you don't, it'll utilize you. So in that moment, they're about to step on that minefield, which we say it's the doubts, the distractions, the denials. Those will blow up the energy real quick. Every one of those will zap the energy and you'll be in the same situation. That's the moment where we're saying that you said earlier, the principle, and part of what we talk about is if everything's energy, a very powerful energy is called faith. And in this game, we explain faith as trust and surrender. And in that moment, the wisest choice is to trust the process, because the process is designed around the principle. So when you trust that process, you're trusting the principle. You're not trusting Matthew to me. You mean you might because we embodied it. But even if you don't, the principle ain't going to shift. We're saying trust the principle. And this is where we're guiding, and we're held accountable to it just like you. So in that moment, it's trust the process, trust the principle, and trust the player who's closest to it, which is you. You trust that, guess what's going to happen with your energy? it's going to go up because you're not lifting it all by yourself. Remember I said you don't have to lift it. Now the principle's lifting it. And it's far more powerful than me and you. So you trust the process, energy goes up. And then surrender to the feedback. The process is going to get data. We get data, and our data doesn't miss. It just tells us objectively, you're aligned with the principle or you're not. So you trust the feedback from the data and from Matthew, the coach, who understands how to read the data and is the data, because you can see his numbers. That's the first step. So when you're up against that resistance and you want to fight it and you want to step on one of those freaking minefields, M-I-N-D fields, then you have a choice to step on and blow it up with your denial, your distractions, your doubts, doubting your coach and everything. Or you can say, let's pause, like you said, and let me just trust the process, count on it. Chop wood, carry water. Even if I don't understand it. And let me just humbly receive the feedback. Matthew said, take a step here, and this is going to move effect. Let me just trust the feedback and get back on. And when you trust the process and surrender to the feedback, your faith will go up in Matthew, in you. Whatever it is, it's going to go up in you. And when that faith goes up, you have more what? Energy. And when you have that energy and you feed into the possibility, it moves. Now, you like this. Now, I always tell people, you can either power that possibility forward with PC energy, which we call principle center energy, which is infinite, it's abundant, or you can power it forward with VC energy. Yeah. And VC is value centered. Your emotions, your mental, all that stuff just masturbates. You can use that to move it forward, but it's always going to burn out. So a choice. Am I going to use PC or VC? And we're in the business of measuring and improving your PC. Matthew, is there anything else you want to add to that?
You know, everything that you talk about is beautiful content, right? And the application of everything is really where it matters. And I have found that the application of these things, you do end up coming up against so many thoughts and beliefs and all the stuff from your past that want to prevent you from learning how to apply it. And that's why I appreciate being a coach and also being coached, because that's something that mentors and coaches and guides can offer, is how do you actually apply these types of things, right? So for example, the whole idea around the mind field, maybe somebody is looking to heal a relationship around their work or their finances, and the mind fields are going to come up, and it might be they've always done something in a certain way. And so the coach can then step in, or the guide or the mentor steps in and can support. Let's work through all the things that come up so that you can make a different choice to ultimately experience a different result. And that's one of the things that I appreciate about my experience in Your Day Balance Game. It wasn't simply philosophy and great knowledge and concepts that sound amazing. My experience has been there's also the support in how do you actually walk this out in life? Like, how do you daily rep this? Because I can sit in the COI, let's take it all the way back to that conversation. I can sit in the COI and get feedback that there's opportunity for me to become more open and vulnerable and lead more powerfully with my wife, Sarah. But then when that meeting is complete and Sarah and I are driving back home and we get back into the flow of our life, and I'm asking myself, how do I actually apply this? Like, that's where it matters. Because the next meeting might roll around and they say, well, what's changed? And it's, well, nothing's changed because I haven't applied anything. So I've always appreciated that in this space, there's the information, there's the context around it, and then there's always been the practice. How do we activate these things? And the emphasis or what I have really gravitated towards are the practices, because it makes me feel more empowered that I can actually do something. I like putting things into action. I like moving my body. I like all of that. So I've always really connected with, here's where you want to go. Here's all your blockages. Here's all the beliefs, the limiting beliefs, all the stuff that's in the way. And here are the little stepping stones, the choices that I can make, the practices that are going to help me eventually get there. Because, when I was doing this stuff on my own, I could be very clear that what I'm experiencing right now is what I don't want, and what I do want is was over there. Like I understood point A and I understood point Z, but it was how to navigate every other point in between that I didn't know. And so I've always really loved that in this game, we've talked about and I've been coached on how to actually apply these things. And it's through the application that I've learned things about myself, that I've hit my head on things, that I've chosen to step on the minefields at times because that was just a step I wanted to take. I wanted to experience it. And I'm very grateful for that because I would personally be very lost if it was simply conceptual. Right? Like I've picked up, you got books over here, wonderful books with beautiful wisdom. And I've read a lot of them, but then not knowing how to apply it, it supported me in intellectually feeling like I was doing something, but then if you looked at my life, the results were all the same. So that's what I wanted to add into this, is it's been the activation of it. That for me has been the biggest difference maker, and it's also been the thing that's grown my confidence, my self-esteem, my self-trust. Hasn't been talking about it. It's been, okay, we've talked about it, now I know what I'm gonna go do. I'm gonna go do this, and this. And I'm gonna practice being as consistent as I possibly can. And I'm gonna get feedback along the way. And over time, that has led to the confidence, the self-esteem, the trust just going through the roof.
And to the amazing relationship with your significant other.
That's been one of the consequences, yep.
What so many people seek, because you have that relationship with yourself. Thank you. So what I heard you say is that the distinction in this game is the activation. Yes, we can talk about it, but let's walk about it.
Yep.
And then you said the feedback. Let's get feedback. Let's put in some ones and zeros. Let's figure this thing out. And let's just adjust. And then the whole thing I want to wrap it with is, and let's love the whole process, because we can judge ourselves. But let's hold the space of love, and that's a whole other conversation, how to love the process. At the same time, I do want to say this, is that there's one other piece that makes you a very powerful, effective coach, which is why you're here today, because you're being it. And when I was sharing with you, I was like, well, then just watch me. That's what I was doing. I was like, then just watch me. And so you can test it, sit right next to me and take a look at the whole thing, and see how it's showing up. And you're just watching, because your subconscious is going to pick up so much more than your limited conscious mind. And I do it every day. Someone gets in the gym, I'm like, do this. And like, I don't know how. And I say, step aside. And I just do it. And then literally the next moment, they just do it.
Yeah.
They don't even know, because it picked up everything, it adjusted everything for it, and just did it. But it's very important that if you're a coach, and that's what's the difference between therapy and counseling, is you don't know if they're being it. But in the coach, we have numbers, and you can see our numbers. And when we speak, it's because we're here. And you can see how far we got, and you can see our limitations. It's just that we're a lot further than you are. And we're showing you to watch us. So that's who you are for your clients, and they don't know it, but I'm telling them, look at his numbers. This guy has a PC score of, what is your PC score now? 60 what?
67.
67, and the average person is about an 8 or less PC score according to our game. And we measure how principal centered you are. The average is about an 8. And I know you don't know what that means, but just know that this guy is multiples more principle centered than the average person. And that just means you live your life more on principle than just the values you've been taught, the emotions that you've been wrestling with. So great conversation. Is there anything you want to tell our viewers as far as how the next step, speaking of practice?
I think the biggest next step is to understand that whatever it is you're playing for is possible.
Wow.
It's possible. And that's one of the beautiful things about Your Day Balance Game, is we believe in that infinite possibility. We believe in that abundance. And so when you are around people who hold that space of possibility, it's given me those moments for my ego to be like, no, it's not possible, and kind of wrestle with that. So biggest next step is, I'd say, to reflect for yourself, what are you wanting to experience in your life? And then to lean into spaces that support holding that space of possibility for you. And we have a whole bunch of different things that people can lean into at all different levels of where and how they want to take action. Plenty of them are probably in the description of this video. But pay attention to the spaces where the energy resonates and something gets, a chord gets struck within you, because those are things, to me, that's the universe sending messages. And those are the things that I know for me in my life that I've always wanted to lean into.
Yeah, thank you. So click on the button to learn more. Get a call with the coach, and allow them to create a space for your new possibility. And subscribe. We're putting out videos like this every month, and we're giving you some insights that's taken hundreds of thousands of hours to understand. And if you just pick up 1/10 of what we're giving you, your life will not be the same. I can guarantee you it's going to be even more magical. So we look forward to seeing you in the game. Subscribe, find out how you can get into one of our calls, and we have a highlights conversation on Wednesday, and let's do this. And prayerfully, we'll see you in the game. Thank you so much. I'm Coach Day.
Coach Matthew.
And we love you. We'll see you next time. And remember, make every day your day. Welcome. My name is Coach Day, and I'm the architect of the Your Day Balance Game, also known as the YDBG, where the objective is to make every day your day. Now, if you really enjoyed that video, then press that button and subscribe, and also hit that notification, because every week we're going to release these videos where you can learn how to go from codependent to true independent, so you start living a life that you're truly worth. I look forward to seeing the game, and remember, make every day your day.